Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to suggest a survey of field gates. I'm talking about those traditional field gates that were made by blacksmiths. A lot of them were replaced when the field entrance became too narrow for the tractors, but some were salvaged and resold and can be found in places where they weren't actually originally made for. That could be an interesting task to find out. I've had this idea for a little while, but Caroline talking about her long walks actually brought it back to the surface. There is a very interesting introductory article in one of the Old Kilkenny reviews in 1977, written by Gerald Tyler. It's only 6 pages long, but it has very helpful illustrations. I will link the PDF below so you can read it yourself. And I will use OSM Tracker for this one and mapillary. You don't have to use either of them, you can do it your own way, but I think this is a good, especially with mapillary, it's a good method to track them and also to have images of them. I am aware that mapping them, because they're prone to be stolen, so I've heard, I'm aware that mapping them will kind of create a catalogue of them, but a catalogue for thieves, that is. But on the other hand, once they're described properly on the map and you have pictures of them, once they are stolen and they turn up on Dundeel or wherever they turn up, it might make it more easy to identify them. So there is that. So we'll dig right in. To get the coordinates of the gates, you can use a tracking app, like I use OSM Tracker. But if you use mapillary to take the pictures, that will show you the location. But if you want to take down any notes like the width and height or any characteristics of the gate, the tracking app is useful, because if you have more than one gate that you'll find during your ramblings, it'll help you remember which one was which and which had which height and so on. So I use OSM Tracker, which also lets me export the GPX file onto OpenStreetMap, and then I can edit it in the ID editor directly. You can also use it with JOSM, but since I haven't introduced you to JOSM yet, I'll stick with the ID editor. I took pictures in mapillary of all the gates. I think there were 8 of them today, and they're already uploaded on mapillary. You see them here on the right hand side. And I'll go to the OpenStreetMap website. And as I said, I have already uploaded the GPS trace or the GPX file onto OpenStreetMap. And you find them under GPS traces and under See My Traces. If you don't have an app that allows you to upload directly onto OpenStreetMap, you can also upload a trace here. So I go to See My Traces. And it's the one here that's called Gates, and I click Edit, and that should open the ID editor. And it is displayed as this fuchsia track that goes around there. So the first one that I surveyed, I took note of the dimensions, so it was 1.60 meters high and 6 meters wide. It's a very wide gate. And remember to always only use metric system, because OpenStreetMap is international and we want to keep it international. I think I'm going to switch to Esri because it's just too blurry. So the gate is in this gap here. To indicate a gate, you can use a line or a point. I will use a line in this case, because 6 meters is quite wide. And I'll draw it directly onto the edge of the field. Like this. And it's a barrier feature, and you just scroll down to gate. Material would be iron. So you see under tags it's been defined as a gate and the material as iron. I would also think that a useful thing would be the dimensions. So width 6, height 1.6, and then there is no tag for blacksmith, but I think it's probably okay to go with artist name. And there was a maker's mark on that one, and that read Power and Sun. Kenny. I took a picture as well of just the maker's mark. This gate is actually a double gate, and there are tags for that. Gate :type double. I think the other ones were all single ones, but this one was definitely a double, which we will see in the mapillary. So I'm going over to that. So it's this one here. So you see it's really beautiful. I'm not sure it's in its original location. It looks more like there were two gates and the farmer combined them into one big entrance instead of getting those tubular gates that are very common in both senses of the word. So we'll get the image link for this picture for OpenStreetMap for the editor by clicking on the share button there. And you don't need the whole link, you just need this bit here. Oops. It won't let me do that. Anyway, so, well, copy the whole link and paste it into this tag mapillary here and just delete everything that we don't need. Very carefully, not to delete too much. It shows this as a new field there, mapillary image ID. If I wanted to, I could also add the color, but it's more or less rusty. I wouldn't really call that a color. Some of them are beautifully painted, and feel free to add the color then for those. And as one of the sources, you can use street level imagery, which is what mapillary is. And click upload. And I will add the other ones without you watching, and we'll run an overpass turbo query then to show you the results. So the tags that I would recommend, and I'll put the source code in the description, is barrier equals gate, that's obvious. Width, height, gate type single double. Material iron, color if you want to, and artist name instead of maker's name because that isn't a tag. If you can find the maker's mark. I couldn't find it on all the gates I found today. Only I think 3 out of 8. Which is really a pity because that would be one of the reasons to map them, to get an overview of which maker left their mark where, so to speak. Oh, another one I just remembered is moved. If you know that the farmer, if you've got talking to the farmer and he tells you that he bought it in an auction or, you know, somewhere, and it wasn't made for that entrance into the field, I suggest that you also use moved equals yes. You don't have to do it for no if it hadn't been moved, but for the ones that have been moved, because I found one made in Wicklow, and I doubt that they ordered it in Wicklow. I mean, you never know, but it might just have been bought somewhere and placed at that field entrance. Yeah, those are the tags I would suggest for mapping those iron gates. I've added all the gates to OpenStreetMap now and the mapillary links. I've zoomed in on the area where I know they are, and we'll look for barrier equals gate. And because there will be other gates mapped that aren't the ones we're looking for, I'm only looking for the ones that have a mapillary image attached as well. So I combine the barrier gate with mapillary equals asterisk. Because I don't have all the codes and I want all the ones with mapillary images displayed, that's why I use the asterisk. It's a kind of a placeholder. And I click build and run. And there we are. There should be 8. Yeah. See down here it says ways 8 because I added 8. So we'll just click on one of them and we see all the information displayed. Artist name, Power and Son Kilkenny, barrier gate, gate type double, height, width, material iron, and the mapillary link. And it's all alphabetical. That's why the height and the width aren't next to each other. And if I click on the mapillary link now, it should open mapillary and show me that image. And it does. And you can export the data from Overpass into an UMap if you want to, if you just want them more nicely displayed and you can bring the information into the order you want to. I showed that in another tutorial, how to do that. Just gonna check another one to make sure it works. So this one at the Higginstown Cross had a Wicklow maker on it. And I'll display an image of what it looked like in detail. I didn't take the detail picture in mapillary because it's street level imagery and that wouldn't be right. But you can take images with your tracker app as well, or just on your phone, as long as you remember which one is which. Yeah, so barrier gate, color green, single, height, width, and the mapillary link. Just click again to see if it works. I don't see why it shouldn't. Yeah, there it is. And my bike made it into the video. And you can zoom in, probably not good enough to read. That's where the maker's mark is on the lock. No, that's too much detail. But it gives you an idea of what they look like and the hedge around. And once you have the height of the gate, you can probably estimate the height of the hedge as well. And sometimes you might have even the old gate posts, the round ones. Not in this case, I think. This isn't round at least. And the other one I can't see. But sometimes you get the old round pillars still. Well, I hope you found that interesting and it inspired you to maybe map a few gates in your area. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!